line, this is Rodney Ellis. If you participate in one of these, this is what you call filler until the technology works and we get a critical mass on the call. Right now, we're leaving messages and we got about 12 people on the call, but it's going through. And I got some great guests for you tonight. Don't be deceived by the great weather you'll have tomorrow or the great weather you'll have Friday. All the experts say it will change. So this will be a call to just talk about what you ought to do and encourage you to do it and give you information that we think will be helpful and let you all dial in. So I have Jeff Linder, a familiar name, personality for disasters to comfort us, and also Brian Murray from the county's Office of Emergency Management, and I got my staff here as well. We're going to take questions and try to give you some information that will be helpful to you. If you want to ask a question, Anna from my staff, tell me again before I read my script. They press?
You can press
one. Yeah, if you have a question, press 1. And we got some screeners in the next row we're going to get to you. This is just a little filler. There are about 67 people on the call right now. We're going to go through it in a second, but just give us like a minute or so. Happy New Year to everybody who's on the line, and we are calling all around Precinct 1, maybe some other zip codes as well. And I think I'm going to get started, so if I'm redundant, they'll come in. But thank you all for joining us. This tele-town hall tonight is focused on preparing our community for the upcoming winter weather, give you ideas on how to stay safe and avoid the severe cold. I mentioned earlier, the weather's perfect today, but don't let it deceive you. It will be extremely cold this weekend. Everybody deserves protection against severe weather, no matter who they are or what their zip code is. At our office, we work to protect every individual and ensure no one is left behind in winter weather preparations, cold weather responses, and recovery efforts, especially in the face of increasingly severe weather events due to the impact of climate change. We invited you to tonight's event because we want to make sure you and your loved ones have the information and resources that you need to prepare for this weekend's winter weather. Today and tomorrow, before the winter weather sets in, it's critical for you to take this time and prepare for what's ahead over the weekend. I want to applaud you for joining us and taking action. You're on the line, you answered. Please tell your loved ones and friends if this information is helpful to you. With that, I've got some instructions on how to participate. If you have a question for me or one of our guests and want to share your experiences or concerns, I want to encourage you to think about that elevator pitch and make it brief. But you can chime in by pressing 0, not 1, pressing 0 on your keypad, and one of our staff members will assist you. You can do this at any point throughout tonight's conversation, and we'll do our best to answer your questions after hearing from you. Now let's move to our guests who are here to provide valuable information, who fought the traffic to get here, and they'll have to fight a bit of traffic to get home. Two very familiar people. Tonight our guests are Jeff Linder with the Harris County Department of Emergency Operations. He is the Harris County meteorologist and someone who Harris County has consistently looked to for guidance in severe weather events. I got to know him when I first became a commissioner when Harvey came, and he was such a calming, tranquil voice in the midst of a storm. He plays a vital role in protecting our communities from the impacts of storms and weather events of all varieties, and it lets us know what's next. Jeff, I want to welcome you, and anything you want to say by way of background, so I don't have to read it, feel free to do it so they know you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, we've been here for a long time. We've been doing this. I've been doing this for 24 years in Harris County, so we've been through a lot. We've seen a lot of hurricanes. We've seen a lot of floods. And recently, we've seen a lot of winter storms. And we just, as a matter of fact, 1 year ago today, it snowed. But this one's going to be different, so we're going to have to get into the details of what's coming up here in just a minute.
And I just got a couple of questions. Give us some sense of what you anticipate for this weekend. We know things can change, and You know, I can't remember how much notice we had that snow was coming.
We had a pretty good forecast for the snow. It was pretty. We had everything shut down. The good news is it came on off a weekend, so that helps. And this will help too. This will be a weekend event, so that really helps with closures and stuff like that. But we are going to be dealing with a very significant winter storm here across Texas and really the entire southern United States as we get into this weekend. And so the cold front's going to come through as we get into Friday evening. So you have all day tomorrow, Thursday, and you have pretty much all day Friday to make those necessary preparations we need to winterize and make sure that that critical infrastructure is protected for the cold that's coming in. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this down into two parts. We're going to do the cold first, and then we'll talk about the potential for winter precipitation. And so we're pretty confident that we're going to see a very significant cold air mass with this. And so we're talking about falling below freezing sometime Saturday afternoon or evening in the central and southern southeastern parts of Harris County. Maybe a little bit sooner, a little bit up toward the north if you're in the Greens Point, Aldine, Intercontinental Airport area. Could be a little bit earlier than that. And then falling below freezing and then staying below freezing probably for anywhere from 40 to 50 hours. So we're not anticipating getting above freezing on Sunday. And it's going to get pretty cold Saturday night and Sunday morning. We're talking lows getting down into the mid-20s, maybe even a little bit colder off north and west. And so that's when we start to worry about the infrastructure. When we get cold for a long duration and we're not able to warm up during the day, that's when you can start having issues potentially with your pipes and your sprinkler systems and even pipes in your interior walls. We can start having issues with. And so we got to pay attention to that as we get into Sunday. And then as we get into Sunday night and Monday, it gets even colder. We're looking at potentially getting down into the low 20s, 20, maybe even in upper teens, 18, 19, certainly on the table here up north and west on Monday morning. And again on Tuesday morning, we don't really recover a lot. We may briefly get above freezing Monday. We're talking 36, 37 for an hour or two, and then right back into the freezer Monday night, Tuesday morning. So another hard freeze for the area. So we got 2 to 3 nights of this, of very cold temperatures, and that long duration potential there for the freeze. So we do have a number of products that are coming out. You'll see on TV an extreme cold watch. And that's really for the wind chills on Sunday and Monday morning. We're talking wind chills, hold on here, 10 to 15 degrees in Harris County. I mean, this is central northern plains type stuff that we're going to be dealing with down here in Harris County. It was not this cold last January when we had the snow. The temperature was actually a lot warmer than this. Now let's talk a little bit about the precipitation. That's kind of the second aspect of this event. So we get the cold air in place, and then we have moisture. And the key to freezing or frozen precipitation is, does the moisture overlap with the cold air? And in this case, it looks like we will see that. And this is a situation where we're going to have something called freezing rain. And so what it is it's liquid rain like you normally see, like we saw today, that falls into a layer of very cold air down here where we live at the surface. And so the temperatures could be in the upper 20s or even the mid 20s. And that liquid water strikes the surface, your car, a tree, power line, your roof, a bridge, an overpass, anything like that, and it freezes on contact because that temperature is so cold at the surface. So this is kind of opposite of what we saw last January. We had snow, so it was cold all the way through the column above us. This time it's going to be really cold down here where we live, but up above us, 3,000 feet, it's going to be like 45 degrees. And so that's falling as liquid water instead of snowflakes, and you get this freezing rain. Freezing rain is really damaging. So you saw last year with the snow, it wasn't that big of an event. Some travel issues. If you stayed at home, it was perfectly fine. Most people had a good time with it. This is not that. Freezing rain it glazes everything in a coat of ice. It's like the glazing on a donut, if you think about that. And so it produces this glaze, and that glaze produces weight that can weigh down the power lines and the tree limbs to the point where they can potentially break, and you have tree limbs falling or you have power lines falling. Just to give you some idea of how heavy ice is, on a span of power line wire from one pole to the next pole, a quarter of inch in ice weighs about 500 pounds on that power line. And so you can see as you start to get up into those types of accumulations, you start to get into some concerns. It's a little early to really talk accumulations. I think for the majority of Harris County, we're probably going to be in that 0.05 of an inch to 1/10 of an inch. But if you're talking about travel, a paper thin layer of ice makes travel almost impossible when you're talking freezing rain. There's just zero traction with the tire and the pavement, especially on those elevated bridges, overpasses, flyover, connector ramps where we historically have had issues. We think we're going to probably have some trouble with that, especially Saturday night and really all day Sunday and even into Monday morning. And then we'll start to kind of come out of this on Monday. The problem we could get into is if we do get some melting on Monday, getting cold again Monday night, Tuesday morning, we refreeze that. And so we saw this last year where we had problems. You know, the snow would melt, it'd be a layer of water on the freeway, and then it gets cold and it'd freeze back into a sheet of ice. And so we're probably going to be dealing with this for a couple, 3 days here. I know I've had some questions. How does this compare to 21? How does this compare to the winter storm of 21 and Uri? We're not going to be as cold with this. We're also not going to be seeing the winter precipitation last as long. It is a statewide event, which is some comparison to 21. The whole state's going to be involved in the winter storm. And it is pretty cold if you look back in the northwest part of the state. We're talking single digits air temperature, not wind chill, single digit air temperature kind of west of Dallas and into the hill country. So, you know, I always say this about weather events. Every single one is different. You really can't make comparisons, and we have to prepare for this one, you know, not what happened in 21 and all that kind of stuff. But there are some similarities, and I think we'll get into some of those preparations here in just a minute.
I'm thinking about 300 people on the line. That's a pretty sizable town hall meeting, by the way. I know I mentioned to a staffer earlier who was planning an event, a family event, a wedding event, and people coming in and on Saturday, and I just said my advice would be to cancel it. I was touring a hospital being renovated by the county earlier. Someone said they had a trip to on Sunday going to Orlando, and I suggested they might want to get out here Thursday night or Friday, pay the extra on the hotel room, or you may not get out. Since it is a statewide event, it's fair to say that it's going to be difficult. People trying to get around the state. Flights will be canceled. We hope the grid is in better shape. We hope that our partners have done a better job of trimming trees so lines won't go down the way they were in 2021. But I want you to talk a little bit about this freezing rain issue. If it's snow, most people know not to go. You know, they know that the county and the city, we don't have snow plows. We got to borrow them from somewhere. But this freezing rain, that, what do you call it, black ice, when you can't see it, that it's just clear. Give us some sense of, at least from your vantage point, what's more dangerous? To me, snow is less dangerous for me because I won't try to drive in it.
Right.
But when it's freezing rain, you can be tricked and decide to go out there and not know what's out there.
You know, that's an excellent point. So when you wake up Sunday morning and look out your window, it's going to look like it's just wet. It's going to look like it's just raining. And you're not going to be able to see the ice. The main reason for that is we're not expecting a big accumulation of ice. So once you start getting over a half an inch, you'll start to notice the trees start turning white, the limbs start really lowering. You'll see it. When you're less than a half an inch, and we're going to be well less than that, you're not going to see it. So you could walk out onto your driveway, or you could walk out onto your sidewalk and just, you know, slip because you think it's wet and it's frozen. And it's even going to be worse on those elevated surfaces. So we're really focusing on those bridges and overpass and those flyovers where we historically have issues. We'll see if we get cold enough for surface streets and sidewalks and parking lots to accumulate some ice. Initially, the ground warmth will help us. But when we start talking, you know, mid-20s or low 20s, it's going to overcome that ground warmth. And so you could even see some ice form on the surface streets and, you know, your deck in the backyard or your patio or anything like that. And you're exactly right. It's going to look wet. It is not going to look like snow. A lot of people are going to wake up and say, y'all are wrong, this didn't happen. And be very, very careful with that. Don't get in your car and get out because we could have significant issues on a lot of the bridges and overpasses.
This is Rodney Ellis. If you have a question, please press 0, and we're going to go to some questions after our two guests. Our next speaker is Brian Murray, who is a longtime expert with our Office of County Emergency Management. Give us a little sense of your background, Brian, and any comments you'd like to make opening up.
So I've been doing this for 15 years, and I started right after, well, not right after, but a couple years after Hurricane Ike. So I've seen everything since then. I saw Tax Day, Memorial Day, Harvey, the 21 winter storm, last year Beryl and the derecho. I want to say I've seen everything, but every time I say something stupid like that, Mother Nature shows me something new. So I'm careful about that. I've really, for the longest time been more involved in our communication side, but I also have a pretty good knowledge of the way we plan for events. So when we're looking at something like this, I think what's important for people to understand is this is nothing to be scared of. Because really, there's some simple steps you can take to make yourself safe. And I think that's what we really want people to focus on is this is simple. It's easy to do for the most part. But I want to say one thing first. It's great that you're looking to take care of yourself. One of the things we're really good at in Harris County is taking care of our friends and neighbors. So I want to encourage everybody who's on this town hall, don't just take care of yourself, check your neighbor next door, check your friend down the street. Make sure that the people that are part of your life and part of your neighborhood are also taken care of, because this is where it gets difficult. As Jeff just said, people are looking outside and seeing, oh, well, it's just wet, and then they go outside, the next thing they're getting a new hip. That's not the kind of stuff we need to be happening here. So make sure that what you're hearing here, you're sharing with folks. Sharing that it's not necessarily safe to go out, that they need to look at staying inside. So that's just one of the things I want to make sure we focus on is, checking on others and making sure we spread this knowledge around.
What are those 4 Ps that I've heard you talk about on these in the past?
So the 4 Ps, and when I said it's simple, this is the simplicity. Let's start off with people. This is talking about protecting yourself. And the best thing you can do is, as much as possible, stay indoors. Exposing yourself to cold, there's all sorts of bad things that can happen with that. I don't think we're going to get cold enough for frostbite, but certainly that does have physical impacts on you. If you do go outside, layer up. Don't just wear a t-shirt. Wear a t-shirt, a shirt, a sweater, and a jacket. Make sure that you've dressed yourself against the cold, and you do that by wearing layers, not necessarily just heavy clothing. Same thing with gloves and a hat. Great thing about a hat is it keeps your body heat inside of you, so I definitely encourage that. The next P is pets. If you have pets, bring them inside, please. It's really important. I know a lot of people have dogs that generally live in the yard, or cats that roam the neighborhood. Try and get them inside. Cats and dogs are as susceptible to cold as you and me. The best way to protect them is to bring them in, make sure they've got a safe place to eat and to sleep. The next P is pipes. And this is one of the things that certainly in 2021 we got into a little trouble with, because as we saw that people lost heat and the ability to heat their homes, we saw a lot of frozen pipes. There's a couple of simple ways to do that. Number one, make sure that you have pipes that are on the outside of your house, that they're not directly exposed to the cold. You can go to the local home improvement store and you can buy the styrofoam wrap and you can buy the faucet covers and stuff, and that's great. But if you don't have those or don't have time to get those, or honestly if they sell out, take a towel, an old towel, and wrap that around that pipe. It's really going to do about the same thing. And then I would check with your water provider and see what their advice is as far as letting faucets drip. I know when I was growing up, they just said, turn the hot water on, just let that trickle. As long as there's water moving, that helps. But I know there's a couple of different schools of thought out there. So definitely check with your water provider, whether that's the city or your local utility district, and see what they recommend. And the last one is plants. Tropical plants do not like untropical cold. So I would definitely say if you've got small house plants that are outside and you can bring them in and put them in your kitchen or in your foyer, that's a great way to help protect them. The ones that are outside that are planted, take an old sheet, cover them up so they're not directly exposed. Jeff talked about that thin layer of ice. That keeps that thin layer of ice off of your plants and increases the chances that they're going to survive.
I know that the judge and the mayor are probably going to have a press conference, I think tomorrow or the next day, to talk about shelters and that kind of thing. And so we'll hold out announcements until that's done. I think we're all trying to do, at least on the county side with 4 precincts, as much as possible. We're all trying to do pretty much the same thing. I have more of an urban precinct than the others. So there's some things the city will do that I may not need to do, or if they don't have the availability in terms of places because elections coming up, I'll do it. I want to remind people elections will be going on, and if you have to make an alternate plan, just make sure you exercise your right to vote. We got a couple of questions. We're going to go to some. And thank you all for joining us. We got about 205 people on the line, and we've at some point had up to 1,207 people on this line. Yes, if you're there. You gotta hit allow, I know how to do it, you gotta hit allow them to speak there, go up there, you see it? Are you on the line? Yes, yes. Welcome. Yes, ma'am, you have a question?
I'm Miss Mary. I've completed my question.
Okay, what was it? It must have been a good one. I see it up there. Oh, power-related questions. Will power go out?
I think
Yes.
I think for the most part in Harris County, we could have a few isolated instances of power outages, like we talked about with the weight of the ice on the power lines or the tree limbs near the power lines. You know, if a tree limb gets enough ice and it weighs it down and it touches that power line, you could have some isolated outages. You know, we're talking street level outages, not widespread. And based on what we've seen so far from ERCOT, they are saying that they have plenty of supply to meet the demand this weekend. So we're not anticipating any widespread outages like we saw in 21, but there could be isolated outages with the ice we get in the wind.
I know another question that came in related to that, Miss Mary, was, would this weather affect Monday? I think I heard you say, yes, it will. I know we're trying to make a decision on whether or not to just go ahead and close our centers now on Monday. We're toying with it a bit, because we don't know what the schools will do yet. I'm kind of waiting. If the schools decide, Friday that they're gonna close on Monday, you know, I know we'll do it. We still may have to do it because our employees have to drive in. But we hate to close our centers if people have to have something to do. Their kids, you know, if there are people who have to go somewhere. So we're going to cross that bridge. Hopefully the school districts, you know, things change. And you're always hoping that for the better on the weather. But if school districts decide on Friday they're going to close, our major ones at least, will make decisions. And another one was, will roads shut down earlier?
I don't anticipate any roads being shut down early. I honestly, I think for most of us, Saturday's probably going to be okay during the day. It's, if you're looking for timing of when road conditions might start to deteriorate, you're probably looking at toward the sunset hour down into Harris County and maybe into that evening. So, you know, we'll see if things change. Saturday's kind of the hard part of this forecast, is how quickly does that cold air come in. If it comes in faster, you know, it gets in here noon, midday, then yeah, we could have issues by midday. If it's a little bit slower and comes in towards sunset, then, you know, most of the day will be okay. It'll be cold and rainy, but it'll be okay. And really right now the confidence there is not very high, so it could really go either way. So just continue to monitor the forecast, especially for that Saturday period. And then I would be planning to be where you're going to be for the duration of this event by, you know, Saturday, late afternoon, early evening. You're probably not going to be able to move around a whole lot on Sunday and into Monday.
How do people sign up for updates to know what's going on?
Glad you asked that question. That's one of the most important things. Several things you can do. Number one, I'm going to tell you very honestly, let's make sure we keep an eye on traditional media. In the social media age, we keep forgetting that one of the best sources of information is still TV and radio, so don't forget to do that. If you go to readyharris.org, you can not only sign up for alerts, and we do our alerting in English and Spanish, and also American Sign Language. And we will, you know, keep you up to date on important developments as they occur. If you're social media savvy, the same Ready Harris is our name on Facebook and X, and YouTube, and some of the other channels, and you'll be able to get information through there. But I would definitely make sure that you have multiple ways to get information. And that even includes making sure that you have emergency alerts on your phone turned on. That's one of the biggest problems we have right now, is people have kind of tuned out. So, you know, take the time the next couple of days, go to Ready Harris, sign up for Ready Harris alerts, and make sure that you're in a good position to get emergency information when it comes out.
Got a real live voice. You want to let them on the line? You are on the line, I believe, if you want to ask your question. Yep. Okay, you're on the line.
Yes, sir. I'd like to know if they have a center open in Denver Harbor for us to vote, early voting.
You guys want to jump in? So I would say early voting starts which day? Today? If you can, I think it's Mr. Melvin. We don't call the last name out. I would try to knock it out tomorrow. You are going to have it'll be open tomorrow. You're going to have great weather. I don't know which one in Denver Harbor, but I know there's one in Denver Harbor open.
Sure, yeah.
It'll be online. Somebody will follow up and take, but I try to knock it out tomorrow or, is that it? You can yell it out. Yeah, tomorrow or Friday. Yeah. And if you can go to harrisvotes.com, but Melvin, because you held this line, somebody's gonna call you. And somebody on my team, and now you may be on the line, they're gonna ask you your address and tell you the closest. All of them are mega centers. But I would knock it out tomorrow or Friday.
Okay then. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. And I was gonna ask you about where can people get information on which centers are opening? Just wait until,
So what will
not
happen-
voting centers,
No,
but
I
shelters.
got you totally. So what will happen is that once the decision is made to open shelters, we will have a map at readyharris.org, and you'll be able to see the location of the shelters. Right now, we are still in the process of working out with the American Red Cross and other folks to see where those are going to be opened. And it'll probably be at some point on Saturday. You'll be able to go and see where those facilities are.
Okay. My staff let me know that we're gonna close our parks on Saturday and Sunday. We're gonna make a decision about Monday. Depends on what the schools do. We're gonna delay the start for programming at our community centers to 12 noon on Monday, if we open them at all. We're working with the Office of Emergency Management and the Red Cross from our side to open an overnight shelter in Precinct 1. We're talking to our other colleagues about what they're doing. If we open one in Precinct 1, we'll only do one because we're more urban. And you have information on how many the city is opening as well. We're treating our roads and bridges to melt the ice, so are all the other precincts, so is the city. Closing roads and bridges that are deemed unsafe. So if we don't think that they're safe in Precinct 1, we're gonna close them. Hopefully there won't be many we have to do that on. And finally, keeping you informed by text message, by email, hcp1.net, and on social media at Harris County Precinct 1 on Facebook, and at HCPC1 on Twitter and Instagram, and traditional media. You know, as much as, my team like working the social media, you do get some of that AI fake stuff on there as well. So, the traditional media sources as well. If you got a question, press 0. We're gonna let you pop in. 147 people still on the line, and I'm pleased so many people are here when the weather's gonna be great. 70 degrees tomorrow. When I finish up by 2 o'clock, I plan on getting a bicycle ride in until it gets dark, and doing the same thing if I can Friday morning. If I can cancel anything Friday morning, I'm gonna do everything I want to do outside tomorrow and Friday, and I'm not waiting until Saturday. Friday night, I'm in. I'm gonna check the movies. I'm gonna hope that generator that just got in 3 months ago, I'm hoping it works. But I think we're gonna do well with utilities this go around. If any closing comments from you all, and then I got my 2 staffers in here with me. If y'all wanna jump in and say something, using that outside voice, you can do it from across the table on my side of the table. Jeff, any wrap-up comments on your part?
I think there's a lot of anxiety and nervousness. We've dealt with a lot of winter weather in the last 4 or 5 years here in this area in the state, and it's caused at some points a lot of damage. And like I kind of mentioned earlier, if you make those preparations and you kind of take care of things over the next couple of days, you'll be going into this event prepared for it, protecting your house and everything as best you can. And most of us will not see significant problems with this, minus travel issues. Most of us will come out of this just like we did with the snow last year, just fine. But if you don't take those measures and you don't protect your pipes and you don't open your cabinets and you don't stay off the roads and do all that, that's where you can get into some issues. And so it's really important we take the next 48 hours to make those preparations to winterize.
We've got a question, and we're gonna let you pop on and ask it yourself. I think that's the Beverly household, I believe, if I'm looking at it right. Yes, you're on the line.
My question was about leaving the attic and the cabinets open and up under the sinks so that the pipes can get some heat, or do we keep them closed? Do we need to keep them closed or open?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would open them. Put as much heat against the walls and your pipes as you possibly can. So open the cabinets under the sink, open the cabinets under the bathroom, open the cabinets against any of the walls that face the outside, what we call the exterior walls. You can open your attic. That's going to let a lot of cold air down into the house, but you can open it. The heat will rise up in there. So the whole point going forward with this is to put as much heat against those walls and pipes as you possibly can.
So the heat rises to the top?
Heat rises to the top.
Yeah, I think Jeff, the opening of the cabinet doors is really important. The other thing I want to caution people on real quick, just so people understand this, space heaters are great. Space heaters are also incredibly dangerous. So if you have one, make sure you've got it in a place where it's not going to catch your house on fire, it's not going to catch your bed on fire, things like that. Make sure that they're not on carpet. Make sure that you've got enough clearance around them so that they're not heating up the areas where they're situated. Again, these are great tools and they can really help you, but let's make sure we're using them correctly and that we don't, cause other problems with them.
Do people need to go get food?
I'm always hesitant to say this. I think I would make sure that you've got enough food in your house to last through the weekend, maybe even to Tuesday.
Yeah. Plus, we're still on the New Year's resolution anyway.
Well, I thought we were all on diets, Commissioner. So I wasn't sure how that worked out, but I think it's a good idea to make sure you take the opportunity to do that now. You do not want to be sitting there on Sunday realizing you need to go to HEB because they may not be open for you either.
And usually when there's a run, we were joking earlier, people go grab up all of the milk and what else was it?
Milk and water.
Milk and water.
Yeah.
So you don't have to go do a run on the milk, the milk and the water. I don't think, I hope I don't eat my words, but I don't think we're gonna have those power outages. I think that the folks at Centerpoint on standby, being prepared, there may be some, but God willing, it'll be isolated. Now, at least I've noticed a lot of trees.
Yes.
People have been calling about trees coming off the power lines, but that's the snap, that's the problem.
That is.
When those limbs are frozen and they hit those power lines, you got a problem.
We had a couple other questions, Brian, just
Yeah.
related
Go ahead.
to water. Should folks be dripping their faucets or shutting off water? Is one better than the other?
So I am not the expert on this, so here's what I will say. If you are capable of shutting off your water and handling that the way it needs to be handled, shut off the water at the valve, drain all your faucets so that your pipes are empty, that's fine. Just if you're going to do that, remember, you need to fill up your bathtubs, you need to fill up your sink because toilets still need to flush, that sort of thing. Dripping of pipes, I know that's something, especially in the city of Houston, they're not a fan of because, their concern is it brings the water pressure down and they may not have enough pressure to run the system or even to run fire hydrants. I will tell you in my house, I'm not in the city of Houston, but there will be hot water dripping in at least 2 of my locations. Mm-hmm. So, that's my preferred, but I think, if you can handle, turning your water off, I don't think it's necessarily a bad option.
What about those sprinklers? Some people have asked in the past about.
That's a really good point, Commissioner. And I think that is the one thing that if you have a sprinkler system, you do need to drain that. That is because you will do nothing but bust those pipes underground. That's a great point, and that's something you should do.
Yeah. Any others?
I think just a follow-up, if folks should be turning off their water from the outside, but I think that gets into some of the weeds of really how a house is built and where those pipes are, but typically where that gauge is located is on the outside.
Usually, and it does depend on your house, you're absolutely right, but you do get, with a lot of houses, where the water enters the house, there's usually a shut-off valve. And it's an easy one to turn. If you try to go back to the meter, you have to have a special tool for that. They discourage you from doing that.
Yeah.
But you should be able to turn it off usually and it's usually around one of your spigots that you hook the hose up to. And if you don't know where that is, ask a friend. Maybe they can help you out. That is a hard one though, because you're right, you do get into the weeds on that.
All that stuff, you better call that plumber.
Absolutely, or call your
Hope
plumber.
there's one in your neighborhood.
That's right.
Any others?
That's it for now.
I want to thank both of you all for coming. I know you drove through traffic to get here. You have to drive that to get home, but it means a lot. It means a lot to us in Precinct 1 that the two of you are always there on short notice. We did this early before the weather gets bad because we know the two of you going to be very busy the next couple of nights. But to my constituents, thank you. We got 121 people on the line holding on. We'll get through it together. Thank you and good night.